Thanks for tuning in to Garden Hands today. I have a hopefully quick project that I wanted to share with you. I'm really excited. I've been waiting to do this because I wanted to get it on video this year. I'm going to be planting up my ranunculus. Whoa. We're going to be planting up the ranunculus that I started in mid-February, I believe. And they are not quite ready to go outside yet. It's a little bit too cold. I don't have my low tunnel set up. And we're just not ready for that yet. But I do want to pot them up because clearly they are growing in this 10-20 tray and they need more room for their roots to grow. So I want to put the biggest, healthiest plants outside that I can when that time comes. So in this mixing tub, I have regular potting soil, not seed starting mix. It has a little bit more nutrients in it. And because they're established plants, I think that will be okay. So from what I can tell, the potting up process for ranunculus from the 10-20 tray that they're in is not absolutely necessary. They could probably sit in this 10-20 tray and be fine to move out if I was going to do it reasonably soon. So I could leave them in there. However, I do have a little bit of room under my grow lights, and as I mentioned, I want to put the biggest plants outside that I can this year because my fingers are crossed that ranunculus are going to be a much bigger, healthier, more abundant crop than I've had in the previous years. So potting up or bumping up your ranunculus, it's pretty easy. I just need a little bit of potting soil. I put some pots in my 10-20 tray. These are maybe what, a 2x2, and they're a good 3 inches tall. I have very random sized pots here, and in fact, my other tray, this is not pretty, but I have these plastic cups that I've had for going on 4 or 5 years. They had tomatoes in them the first year. I'm just using what I have left over. So it doesn't have to be fancy. You can use what you have. What I'm going to do first is actually just put about 1 inch of soil in each of these pots. Ranunculus, I believe when you plant them outside, should be planted about 2 inches deep. So I'm going to try to mimic that in these pots. All right, now that I've got that in here, I'm gonna move this tub out of the way because it's taking up entirely too much room. All right. Now I can adjust these so you saw I wasn't real careful about how I put the soil in. There are a couple other ways that you can pot up your ranunculus if you don't want to leave them in the container that you started them in. So we have this method where I'm putting them in slightly larger pots. You could put them in a cell tray. If you had a 72 count or a 50 count, you could put them in there. You could even start them in there if you wanted to. That would be absolutely just fine. If you have bigger containers, like I said, this is just a plastic cup that I have already been using for pots. Go ahead and do that. Last year I actually put some ranunculus in those plastic bulb crates that when you order bulbs from a company, they might send them in this big bulb crate. It was, I don't know, 1.5 feet high and maybe 2 feet long and 1.5 feet wide. I filled it up with soil and I just put in maybe 15 ranunculus. The nice thing about putting them in the bulb crates that I found from last year, if you want to save your corms for the following year, you're gonna need to let these plants kind of shrivel up and yellow and die back so that you can make sure that the corms have all the nutrients they need to store over for winter. In the bulb crates, that was fantastic. I could just pick up my bulb crate and I think I put them under my deck where they were out of sight, out of mind for a month or so. And when I had time to dig up the corms and kind of process those, I could do that. Whereas this year, I'm hoping to put these in the ground under a low tunnel. And when it comes time for these flowers to be done blooming, they're gonna sit out there and they're gonna die back out in the ground. So I have an entire row out in my cut flower garden that is kind of not usable for a while. It's not a long period of time and I'll definitely be able to plant something else there once they're done, but something to think about. So I have these filled. There's 1 inch, give or take, in each of these. Next, what I should do is grab my label. These corms were started on the 18th of February. So that's 20 days ago, almost 3 weeks ago. And they are looking phenomenal. They're a couple inches tall, and to be quite honest, I'm guessing these are probably too big, and I should have potted them up a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago. So hopefully this works. I haven't done it when they're at this stage, but I'm hoping it'll be okay. And to start this process, it's really easy. All I'm going to do is, this tray will probably all be the same variety. I'm going to, I was potting up flowers yesterday, so I have my really fancy tools here. This is an old baby fork that I kept from probably 8 years ago, and it actually works really nice. What I'm going to do is carefully dig up these corms. Look at that. This one does not have a ton of green growth on top, but the roots are dangling down and they are white and beautiful, and this one is going to be glorious. This is Amandine White. Take your corm, stick it in your pot. I am putting it with the roots down, with the little tuber tentacles down and the green growth up. And then I'll just grab from my pile of dirt here. I'm gonna add dirt to the top so that it's buried about 2 inches deep. That's it. When you're all done, water them in well, put them under grow lights, and you should be good to go until you're ready to plant them out. So I'm gonna continue this same process for all of these. I'll need a couple trays, probably a couple more, but I'll figure out what I have downstairs, and I'm excited to see what these look like in another 2 weeks. Note to self, next year, pot these up when they're 2 weeks old, not 3 weeks old. They have all grown together. And if you do this slightly earlier, look at the roots on that. If you do this a couple weeks earlier, it won't be quite such a mess. I'm trying to be very gentle with these so that I'm not ripping too many of the roots, but it's kind of a mess. Okay, I finished the Ranunculus potting up, and it's more trays than I had thought. I should have just figured out how many could fit on a tray, but I got it all done. It was a good chore to get done. My big lesson and my big tip for this is do it earlier than I did it. Maybe when they're a week and a half or 2 weeks old would probably be much easier. It was a little bit fiddly having to hold the leaves while I put soil around them so I didn't damage them too much. Hopefully they, you know, take a day or two to rebound, and after that they start putting on new growth again. So next steps, now that they are potted up, they are all going back under the grow lights for an undetermined amount of time, hopefully 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 weeks. So the next step for these little ranunculus and their journey this year is that I have to get that caterpillar tunnel set up, maybe this weekend, maybe next weekend. I think I have it mostly figured out. I just need to figure out how to secure it to the ground, whether it's sandbags or cinder blocks or maybe large trees or boards. I need to figure that part out, and then the ground will start warming up, the snow will melt, and then planting these out will be sometime in the near future. Other than that, I think I mentioned that today was our first day of tapping for maple syrup, so we are all exhausted. It's kind of the end of the day. I'm going to put a movie on. I have some more potting up to do of my stock seedlings that we planted a couple weeks ago. We're gonna maybe make some cookies. I think I promised the kids some cookies because they helped out so well tapping trees, and then I think I'm gonna call it a day. This time of year it starts to pick up. We've got the maple syrup stuff that we are kicking off. It's getting to the fun point. Nothing is dripping yet, but we'll get the trees tapped and then that'll take up most of our nights. We've got a lot going on as far as seedlings and kind of maintaining and monitoring those. We're probably 2 weeks out from when we plant the bulk of our seeds. So we need to get these guys out before those go in so that we can kind of do that grow room shuffle. But that's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned. We will do another update on these probably in a couple weeks when we plant them outside. And you know, keep checking back. We've got maple syrup stuff coming out. We're trying to keep up with the videos and get them out to you as soon as we can. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you don't miss anything, especially any giveaways that we do for maple syrup. There's a little spoiler. I'm sure we'll do a couple of those again this year. So thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Bye.